We came, we saw, and we stayed. Now, for those of you that have been following us as the Three Amigos, um, we decided, pretty much I decided, uh, that the Three Amigos really wasn't expressing who we are. I mean, it's a Mexican theme, and we're in Russia. I thought it was cute when I created it, but it just didn't fit, because what we really wanted to do was to create a show with myself, with Peter, and with Richard, uh, that we could share our ideas, our discoveries about living in Yalta, in the Crimea, in the Russian Federation. And so I created a different title with photographs of the three of us, Peter, Richard, and myself. And the title, We Came, We Saw, and We Stayed. So Richard is at the dentist tonight. He's not able to join us. So Peter and I are going to talk a little bit about this. So Peter, what I hope to do, and what I hope we can do, is to be able to share with people who view this why we came here to Russia and why we stayed. Now, there are a lot of expats from around the world, including Americans in places like Moscow, and I'm sure other cities in Russia where they're living and working. But as far as we know, we're the only ones living in Yalta.
Yeah.
We've heard that there are other Americans living in Crimea, but we haven't been able to find them except for one. So I don't want to get into the substance of why we came, because Richard's not with us, and why we stayed. If people have watched us before, they'll have some idea of our background and why we came here. But so what are your thoughts on the new format, and what do you hope that we can accomplish?
Oh man, I like the idea of the original format, but I agree with you. I think the change was needed because we need to really communicate clearly and to the audience. I mean, like some of our original reasoning, why we came, and then why we stayed. And I'll tell you my original hypothesis of why I came, when I came across the border and almost 3 years ago. I said to the border guard, they asked, well they were, I came into Russia through Mongolia. I think that's an unusual route for Americans to travel into Russia. But they asked me, so, why are you coming to Russia? And I said, well, I think Russia will be the very best country to live in for the next 100 plus years. And everything I've seen in the almost last 3 years confirms that hypothesis that Russia will be the best place to live. And there are many, many reasons I've seen now to confirm that. And in fact, I had lunch with you, I guess this last week, and I said, yeah, I can think of at least 10 reasons. So we'll have a lot of information for a lot of future shows.
One of the things that we talked about when we created the Three Amigos was that we would go on location
Yeah.
here in Yalta and to try to show people through our lives, our experience, what life is really like. For example, we'll take people to the large outdoor market where fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, farm fresh eggs and chickens and beef with no GMOs. I think people will be really surprised.
Oh yeah.
We'll take them to the large supermarkets here. It's a chain. It's called Yablika, Apple, and you know the propaganda coming from the United States is that Russia's economy is really hurting. There's a lack of food, and the shelves are empty. And this couldn't be further from the truth. And so we'll take people and show them like where we shop, what we buy.
Yep.
And then right here in Yalta, where we live, Peter, the tourism season is upon us already.
Oh yeah.
As we get into the summer, the beaches will be packed with people from Russia who are coming here to vacation.
Yeah.
And the nightlife is wild and crazy. People are spending their days, and I mean their days and evenings on the beach, having a good time, buying food, buying drinks, and basically just enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
All the while, they all know that there's a war that's raging next door.
Yeah.
So we want to show them that what life is really like here during the tourist season. We're going to want to take them and show them some of the historic places in Yalta, and then we're planning on doing 2 or 3 excursions with friends of ours. We rent a minivan for as many as, well, between 10 and 17 people. And there are a couple of locations that we want to visit to show people in the United States and around the world what other parts of Crimea are like. And they'll get to see and they'll get to meet our friends. We'll interview some of them because several of them speak English, and that will be really fun. And then we're going to talk about some geopolitical events that Russia is involved in. For example, if we can do a show next week, we'll have to talk about and analyze Trump's meeting in China. He's supposed to arrive there tonight, but the next 2 days, Thursday and Friday, what actually happens, what kind of a reception he gets from the Chinese. And then a week or so later, Peter, Vladimir Putin is flying to Beijing to meet with President Xi. But last week, the who was it? The Prime Minister of Iran or the Foreign Secretary also flew and spent a couple of days in Beijing.
Yeah.
And so this triad, this triangle of Russia, China, the U.S., well, now it's a quad, Iran. And you and I and Peter will try to analyze what the heck is going on. So, Peter, I think it's going to be much more informative and much more interesting with this new format.
Yeah.
Now, I want your thoughts on this, because I know Um, you have said you'd like to help Americans move to Russia and Crimea.
Yeah.
My thinking is don't move here to stay. Just come spend your money and go back home. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that's a nice thought, but I think things in the West are going to get so crazy that when people come, they're not going to want to leave because I think things are very stable here, as you've mentioned. I mean, there's no lack of tourists and spending money, and the economy is fine. There's no lack of anything here. So, as much as I'd like for what you said to people just to come, come for vacation and then leave, I think things in the West are going to get so crazy that once people come to Russia, they're not going to want to leave. And I lived in North Florida for 10 years and got to see the people come on vacation in the summer. Well, this is Russia's Florida. In fact, I call it the Russian Riviera. It's
Yeah.
The Black Sea is beautiful in the summer. The water is perfect temperature, and actually, the saline content in the Black Sea is less than it is in the Gulf of Mexico or even in the Atlantic. So you can actually swim underwater without goggles here in the water. So I don't want to make it sound too appealing because, like you said, people will come. But yeah, the start of the we're not quite into the summer yet, but they're already people coming down, and it'll get in the next month. It will get next 2 months. It will get crowded, but yeah, I'm excited to see people come. When the first year when I was here in 2023, people were a little in Russia were a little hesitant to come to the beach. Now they're not. They've gotten used to the idea that there's a Ukraine war and it's still going on, but things here are fine. It's safe. So
You
yeah,
know, you mentioned the Black Sea and how wonderful it is
yeah,
uh, for swimming or just to be there, breathing the fresh air is wonderful. But Yalta, on the other side, is a valley uh, between these giant cliffs and the mountain range that
yeah,
really makes for an incredibly beautiful location. And we've talked about this many times before. You talk about the French Riviera or whatever, or you talk about Florida. This is one of the most beautiful places on the planet
yeah,
in terms of the beauty, in terms of the mild or moderate climate. Uh, it's an incredible place to visit. You know, some of the other things that we will talk about in terms of encouraging people to come here. Uh, Currently, because of the war and the sanctions, over 2,000, almost 3,000 sanctions placed on
yeah,
Russia by the United States and by the European Union and other countries, it's almost become prohibitive for foreigners to come here. Number one, and it's even more serious now with the chokehold on the Straits of Hormuz in terms of jet fuel.
yeah,
It's going to be more and more expensive than it has been uh, since
yeah,
2022 and the beginning of the conflict in Ukraine. But the route that people have to take to get here is really bizarre. There's no more direct flights from anywhere in the United States.
yeah,
And people used to fly to like Qatar, United Arab Emirates, and then fly to either directly to Russia or to go to Turkey and then to Moscow.
yeah,
Um, Extremely long, uh, many hours of travel and sitting in an airport waiting for connecting flights. And the cost of it is really prohibitive for most people in America to even think about coming here. So we're going to talk about that. We'll be talking about how to get a visa and what people need to get the visa to come here.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about bringing money here and letting people know that you can't come with a credit card because none of them work here internationally. And so there are some obstacles, but we're also going to point out how welcoming and enriching being in Russia is, how welcoming the people are when they know that Americans are coming here with a clean heart, a good spirit, and a desire to learn as much as they can about Russia and all things Russian. So I think the three of us are really looking forward to sharing our views, why we came and why we stayed. And I'm really hoping that this will be, and I think it will be, a very interesting show for not only American people, but people around the world who are following us and who speak English. I might also mention, Peter, the language is no longer a serious hurdle.
No.
Many Russians speak English, even though they haven't had much practice. And I want you to share your experience with this. But everybody has a smartphone. And if they don't have a translator on the phone, they should get one because all you have to do is use your smartphone to talk to people, and they understand this technology. And most of the time, if any of us find ourselves in a difficult situation, Russians are more than willing to help. What's been your experience with the language, Peter?
Oh yeah, when I first got here, I was a bit intimidated, but you're right. It's with a translator, it's necessary to have a translator on your phone for sure. And then put a translator also on your computer so you can translate text if necessary. But yeah, I found that there are actually quite a few Russians that understand English. Now, a lot of them are very shy about speaking English, and they're very self-conscious because most Russians have had some English training when they were very young in school. Now, some today they haven't. A lot of them haven't practiced their English in many years, but almost every day I'll run into maybe two or three people who we can communicate. Even my Russian's pretty limited, but I know enough Russian to communicate some basic things that I need, and they're very, like you said, they're very welcoming and very willing to communicate. And then when you run into problems, it's get your smartphone out and either talk into it or do the text. And it's, I think because this is also a tourist town, they're very, and it's transitional and a lot of people come and go. Like you said, it's very unusual to hear English or anyone speaking English here in Yalta. It's very unusual. So if we're in public and we're speaking English, we always get a lot of attention from the locals or from people who are visiting, they're shocked. They're like, Americans in Yalta, what?
Yeah.
So,
we do get a lot of attention.
Right.
One of the things that we'll be talking about is that people will need a new SIM card when they come here. They can pick it up at the airport. They can pick it up at the train stations, wherever they are. But it'll be important to get another SIM card so that their telephones and their internet will work. And because of Russia's concern about the amount of Western liberal conversation and values upon the Russian people. And we're at war with the West. Let's not make any bones about it.
Yeah.
We're relatively safe. We in Yalta are not being bombarded. Other parts of Russia and Crimea are. But people will have to realize that they will need a VPN to be able to communicate, not only here in Russia on popular applications, but also with their friends and colleagues and websites in the United States.
Yeah.
Fortunately, you have been a great resource for helping us overcome these difficulties. You were the number one guy at Apple, and you don't have any peers right here in Crimea that I know of that can help others and help all of us as you have with being able to continue our conversations with people outside of Russia, and to be able to continue using many of the websites and communication applications that are out there. So these are just some of the things that we'll be talking about and sharing our experience with people. And yes, it is our intention. It's twofold. We're trying to open the eyes of people, especially in the United States, about Russia. Everything they've been taught, everything they've learned about Russia has been a lie. It's been a fabrication. That's the first thing that we hope to do. The second thing we hope to do is to entice people, attract people to returning to Russia, even though the expense and the difficulties of getting here, it can be prohibitive for most Americans, that there are many Americans that still want to come here and could afford it. And I think that's the second part of what we'd like to do, is to assure people that it's safe to come here. There's relatively little crime. They will not be having any difficulties going through customs and immigration.
No.
You know, the only thing that Russians think when they see Americans come here, and it's the same thing with you and me and Richard, they will say, "Are you a spy?" I've had that happen. I've had that happen. You too?
Well, I think when I came across the border from Mongolia, I think they were thinking, man, this is pretty fishy. What's this American doing coming from Mongolia into Russia? So, yeah, I think they definitely were concerned, but yeah, they have nothing to be concerned about. I know I'm here for all the right reasons, and I was very honest, upfront with them and forward, and answered all their questions. They let me in, so I guess they didn't think I was too. They didn't think I looked too dangerous.
The people here, they view us as really an anomaly, an exception.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so few of us. Yeah. And we've all been interviewed more than once on local television, on Russian national television.
Yeah.
And, they may not ask the question directly, but off camera, they'll sometimes say, are you a spy? Why would you want to come here? And I have to laugh because in my case, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm not a middle-aged guy, and I'm not hanging around Russian military installations. I'm living the life of Riley in Yalta.
Yeah.
But it is true that they get so few Americans coming here
Yeah.
uh, that raise questions sometimes. I even have friends that have been friends now for almost 7 years, um, who sometimes will kiddingly say, "Oh, come on, you're really here to spy on Russia."
Yeah.
uh, anyway, um, there's so much that's benefited you and me and Richard by living here. We've benefited enormously. And I think our hope is not only to befriend as many Russians as we can, to learn from them, to listen to them, to discuss issues. And once they get to know you, Peter, I want you to share your views. They're more than happy to talk about anything. Their
Oh yeah.
views on their views on President Putin, their views on the economy, their
Yeah.
views on global geopolitical issues. They're extremely intelligent and very well informed.
Yeah.
Uh, have you not found that to be true in your experience? In fact, you're even working with a couple of groups of people to help them with their English.
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah, in fact, I work with at least two groups um, about weekly. We have a couple English clubs that I participate in to help them with their English and help them practice. But no, yeah, the education level here is extremely high, and they're very well. They understand Russia very well. They understand the world outside of Russia very well. If there was just one um, weakness, and I can understand why it is a weakness, is they still have a somewhat distorted view of America. Now, I think they have a good picture of Americans, but I don't think they really understand how negative the American government is toward Russia or Russians. They don't, and I try to communicate that in a very, you know, clear way. And I think sometimes it they when I try to communicate this, they're in a little bit of shock because they don't really understand. They've got a picture of America. I think they've got a picture of America from American movies, American TV. And I think most Russians kind of picture of America is the 1950s America. And anyone who lives in America today knows that America is not the America that we grew up in anymore. So, but no, I found them very well educated, very smart, and very aware of what's going on in the world around them. Um,
Yeah, we've got a I guess it's a gentleman, Mr. Blamo dash RU. He's been commenting on a number of the shows that I do. Um, he, I think he facetiously wanted to know, uh, are we spies? And Mr. Yeah, Mr. Blamo, I can assure you, unequivocally, neither one of us are spies,
yeah,
uh, and we are just three guys, including our amigo Richard Dillman, who came to Russia by three very different routes and for three very different reasons. And we're happy to share that with people. And there's nothing that uh, the CIA or MI6 could possibly want from us, nor would they want to hear from us, because their whole goal and mission is to disparage, to distort, to lie about all things Russian. And here we are trying to be spokespeople
Yeah.
and trying to show through our own experiences that Russia is an amazing and beautiful country. And the people, Peter, as you and I have discovered, are not only highly educated, better than in the United States, but they're very cultured.
Oh
They
yeah.
have a rich history of
Yeah.
culture,
Yeah.
of uh, music, symphony, uh, great conductors, great composers, artists, and and authors like Chekhov and Pushkin,
Yeah.
Tolstoy. It's an incredibly rich culture that I think we never exposed to that. We're exposed to that when we grew up in the United States. Yeah, we knew about Ernest Hemingway, we knew about
Yeah.
Longfellow, uh,
Yeah.
but it was very limited in terms of being aware of other, well, I would say especially Russian cultural uh, authors,
Yeah.
musicians, artists. You know, people in America know about Mozart. They know about, uh, you know, other Italian and French and German composers and artists, Michelangelo, but they have no idea of how great and important Russians are over their
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
And you know, I know you agree with me. This is part of the experiences that we've had in the time we've been here, exposed to this.
Yeah.
Uh, so, I mean, these are the things that we are trying to share with people through our own eyes and through the videos that we will produce in the future.
Yeah.
Because what we're planning to do with this new format, we came, we saw, and we stayed, is to record uh, some of these shows as we travel around Russia or travel around Crimea and travel around Yalta,
Yeah.
that we will then upload and publish as part of this show. So, we're really excited and looking forward to doing that because I think, in this day and age, not a lot of people read anymore,
Yeah.
and people get their information from the internet, from videos. And
Yeah.
Peter, you and I both know if we can make this interesting by sharing our own firsthand experiences of coming here and living here, the hope is that people will be interested and people will begin to question
Yeah.
everything they've been told about Russia and the
Yeah.
Russian people.
Yeah.
Uh, what are your thoughts as we wrap this up tonight?
Well, I was going to mention the spy thing is, we're such high profile that I'm sure that the security services once in a while check in and see what we're saying about, Russia. And one of the things I knew before I came to Russia is like, I'm always going to be 100%. I'm an honest person anyway, but 100% honest with all Russians and especially with immigration and you know, any coming in and out of borders is always be completely forthright and honest. And that's all you need to do, and you'll be fine. It's and even the border guards are welcoming. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this new format and communicating clearly. You know, what initially why we came to Russia and why we stayed, and all the really amazing things about Russia. In fact, I learn new things about Russia every day that's surprising, cultural things, and they're different, but they're not bad. I wouldn't say they're bad. That's why I try to tell my Russian friends, because I say, some of the things that Russians do that we don't do in the West, like at all. And I find some of these things extremely entertaining, and they're different, but they're not bad things. They're to your point, they're very, for me, they're very enduring because they're cultural things that are a part of the Russian culture and how Russians do things. So that's the other thing too, is you have to be very open to understanding the difference, and very I try to be very, the way I think, I'm a guest in Russia. And until I become a Russian citizen, which I hope to at some point, I act like a guest, and try to be very thoughtful and kind in my interactions with Russians. And Russians are very thoughtful, and most of them are very, very kind and good people too. So,
You're talking about something that's very important. When people come here from America, from Europe, like they used to do before the war and all the sanctions, uh, they came as tourists. And the the these large tour ships docked here in the harbor at Yalta, and
yep,
people would have 8 or 10 hours to get off the ship and maybe find a tour guide or just walk around themselves, buy some souvenirs. They don't get any idea about the things we're talking about.
no,
And even if they don't come by cruise ship, if they used to come here by fly uh, to Moscow or Simferopol, where the airport in Simferopol has been closed since the start of the war because
yeah,
it is so close to Ukraine. So even if they come by train, which is a 2-day trip from Russia and almost
yeah,
3 days from St. Petersburg,
yeah,
uh, they're tourists, and many of them don't hire professional guides. Many of them just come here, and it's Monday we'll be in Yalta, and Tuesday or Wednesday we'll be in Sevastopol, and then we're going to return by train, and we'll stop in Kerch and cross the bridge uh, between Kerch and the mainland. And that's not the way to see Russia or meet Russians.
yeah,
And I think what you and I and Peter and others have learned who have come here to stay uh, is really the best way to interact with Russian people and the
yeah,
culture.
yeah,
And it's not the only way, but if you can come as an individual or a group of people who are not in a hurry
yeah,
to go on these crazy tours by tour buses and, well, anyway, the ships don't come here, to get from one place to another as fast as possible, you're not really going to learn about Russia. You'll
yeah,
buy a bunch of souvenirs, you'll spend a few money, you'll taste some local food, and then you're back on your ship or you're in your bus and you're going somewhere else.
yeah.
So this is what we hope to do. And the three of us, uh, we are amigos, but I think we are more comrades uh, who have come here, and discovered just how life can be.
Yeah.
Peter, um, we're going to try to do this every Wednesday at
Uh-huh.
the same time,
Yeah,
so that we hope to be able to uh, grow this audience, because we hope that they're going to realize that the conversations we're having are not random. They're
yeah,
scheduled. They'll be
yeah,
every Wednesday, like today, at 7 p.m. Moscow time.
yeah,
In the United States, that is noon Eastern time. And throughout the rest of Europe, they're either 1 hour or 2 hours behind us. So 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock. And we're hoping that by keeping this on a regular schedule, the same time every week, people will look forward to our conversations and will share it with their friends.
yeah.
Peter, until next Wednesday, we got to hope that Richard is going to be available. He's not going to be having teeth pulled or another bridge made. And by the way, that's something else we'll talk about. The free health care that's provided here to Russians and those of us that have either temporary or permanent residency.
Yep.
Completely free health care.
Yep.
So, Peter, thanks for joining me tonight. It's been, it's always fun. And we'll look forward to doing it again next Wednesday. Same time, same place. Until we see you again, join us. Please like and share this video if you appreciate the kind of reporting that we're doing. And please subscribe to us on YouTube, on Substack, on Rumble, on X, wherever you see these shows, please subscribe. Peter, we'll see. Well, Peter, we'll see you before next week, because we don't just get together doing shows. We get together almost weekly, having lunch and reviewing everything that's happening geopolitically, but everything that's happening in our own daily lives. Until then, Peter, take care.